Welcome to the Explainer. For years, we talked about artificial intelligence as if it were just this abstract concept, right? Like it was just software hype floating around somewhere in the digital ether. But 2026, that is the year the narrative completely flipped. This is the year AI stopped being just software and became a very physical, geopolitical, and honestly, a deeply personal reality. Today, we're unpacking a ton of new data from sources like the Stanford AI Index, PwC, the UN, and more, just to show you exactly how much the landscape has shifted. So let's dive in. To really set the stage here, I want you to consider a pretty staggering number, 2.7%. Now, it sounds tiny, but this little figure represents a monumental shift in global technology. Right now, the performance gap between the absolute top US and the top Chinese AI models has shrunk to just 2.7%. The whole era of a singular, unchallenged global superpower in AI, yeah, that's effectively over. Section 1. The Global Race and the Push for Sovereignty. It's honestly fascinating how tightly clustered the top AI models have become. When you look at the Stanford AI Index data, US and Chinese models have actually traded places at the very top of performance rankings multiple times recently. And the wild part is, this is happening despite massive differences in resources. US private AI investment hit over $285 billion, which vastly outpaces China's private investment. But at the exact same time, the number of AI researchers moving to the US has seen a severe 89% drop since 2017. So both nations are taking very different paths, but they're basically arriving at the exact same level of frontier capability. So what does this all mean? Well, this incredibly tight race is exactly why nations and businesses are suddenly scrambling for what's called sovereign AI. It is all about control. With the world's leading AI heavily concentrated in the hands of a few tech giants, countries are realizing that relying on foreign infrastructure for things like sensitive health records, financial data, and defense communications, that's a massive risk. Sovereign AI means keeping your digital future and your data strictly within your own borders. But here's the rub. Building that kind of sovereign, national-scale infrastructure from scratch can easily cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So how on earth are smaller nations or independent companies supposed to compete? Well, they're turning to cloud GPU providers. This strategy perfectly demonstrates how organizations can get massive, localized computing capacity without making those irreversible, giant upfront hardware investments. It fundamentally democratizes the ability to host AI locally. Section 2. The murky middle. Transparency drops and environmental tolls. As the push for better, faster AI accelerates, we really have to stop and ask, what exactly are we sacrificing to get there? And this number is, frankly, a bit alarming. 40. That's the current average score out of 100 on the Foundation Model Transparency Index. Just a year prior, it was at 58. So as these models are getting more advanced, the companies building them are actually pulling the curtains closed. The reality of this transparency crisis is pretty stark. Over 90% of notable industry models in 2025 were released without their training code. Think about that. Developers are no longer disclosing how much computing power they use or what data they're even feeding into these systems. And, perhaps the most worrying part, while these models seem totally fine and safe in the lab, tests show their safety defenses weaken significantly under deliberate adversarial attacks in the wild. We're essentially building our future on systems we're allowed to know less and less about. Which brings us to a question that sounds super simple, but has massive real-world implications. Where does the cloud actually live? I mean, we use the word cloud to make it sound lightless and invisible, but the reality is incredibly heavy. Data centers absolutely exist in the physical world, and their environmental toll is skyrocketing. According to researchers at MIT, because of the sheer power density required, a generative AI training cluster consumes about 7 to 8 times more energy than your typical computing workload. And it gets crazier. For every single kilowatt hour of energy consumed, these facilities require roughly 2 liters of chilled water just to keep the servers from literally melting down. When you project that out, the scale is just staggering. A United Nations university study estimates that by 2030, AI's global water consumption could equal the basic annual domestic needs of 1.3 billion people. Its land footprint, that could exceed an area roughly twice the size of the Jakarta metropolitan area. The benefits of AI might be global, but these environmental burdens, the huge strain on water supplies and power grids, they're highly localized, often hitting regions that are already facing severe resource scarcity. Section 3. The human impact. labor polarization, and personalized breakthroughs. Transitioning down to the micro level, the labor market of 2026 is, well, it's complicated. AI isn't just a simple job killer, but it's definitely not a universal utopia either. It's fundamentally reshaping the actual flow of work. In some instances, it's a massive productivity booster for highly structured tasks. But at the exact same time, it's noticeably depressing entry-level hiring, which is leaving younger workers in a really tough spot. PwC's latest data paints a clear picture of this divide, creating what they call a two-speed labor market. On one side, you have professionalized roles. Think specialized experts where AI acts like a supercharged force multiplier. Jobs in this track are seeing 42% faster salary growth. Not bad, right? But on the other side, you've got democratized roles, routine clerical or data processing jobs. Here, AI makes the job so easy that it essentially replaces the need for the human entirely, leading to heavy automation risks and wage stagnation. And for recent graduates, the goalposts haven't just moved. They're in a different stadium. Data from millions of US job postings reveals that entry-level roles most exposed to AI are now 7 times more likely to require traditionally senior-level skills. We're talking complex judgment, creativity, and leadership. Essentially, because AI can now do the routine tasks that used to serve as a training ground for juniors, entry-level workers are literally expected to bring senior-level wisdom on day one. Section 4. The biological level. Medical digital twins. Okay, let's lift the mood a bit, because the absolute breakthrough of 2026 is genuinely incredible, the medical digital twin. This isn't just a fancy X-ray. A digital twin is a dynamic, data-linked, computational representation of you. It actually updates over time based on your continuous health data. Doctors can run simulations, forecast disease progression, and perfectly optimize a specific treatment on your digital twin before ever touching your physical body. It's no wonder patent filings and clinical trials for these systems have absolutely skyrocketed. And the results? They are already changing lives. It's a really thrilling and optimistic shift. Just look at the clinical trial data for diabetes patients using a whole-body digital twin platform. Over a 12-month period, 71% of participants achieved healthy blood sugar levels, all while safely reducing their intake of medications. AI is actively compressing drug discovery and trial timelines, driving incredibly personalized, life-saving healthcare solutions directly to patients. So stepping back and looking at the full picture of 2026, we're really looking at a world of duality. Geopolitically, the race is tied, and nations are building walls around their sovereign infrastructure. Environmentally, the sheer cost of our digital ambitions is bearing down on the physical Earth. Economically, the workforce is fracturing into this two-speed reality. Yet biologically, we are unlocking the secrets of personalized medicine at a pace we've never seen before. So the question we want to leave you with today is this. As AI reshapes the world from global superpowers all the way down to your very own biology, what choices will you make to navigate this new era? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep learning.